Coming up tonight on the News at 5, what Cascade County and Great Falls officials had to say at their joint press conference today, addressing the recent rise in COVID-19 cases and possible future restrictions. Plus, the Townsend Bulldogs are on the hunt for the Southern B Divisional title tonight. We're in Broadwater County ahead of the game.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 5.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the News at 5. I'm Andy Curtis, and thanks for joining us. Well, the weekend is a lot closer than it was at 4 o'clock, and to tell us if anything has changed weather-wise, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
60 minutes to be exact. It's, yeah, it sounds a lot closer than 1 hour. But hey, everybody, happy Friday afternoon to you all. It's been cloudy, warm, relatively speaking, windy and wet for most areas here. Some rain showers flying, with the exception of northeast Montana, where we've got a little snow. But that wet will turn white. Winter weather advisory for Billings, Lewistown, Great Falls, Cut Bank, down through the Continental Divide, Helena, Butte, America, and Bozeman, all included in this winter weather advisory. For parts of the state, this weekend, from start to finish, we will be looking at snow. A very snowy weekend here. Slippery when white. Remember, it's slippery when the snow piles up on the road. It's been a while here since a lot of us have driven in snow. And it's a stormy stretch that continues beyond the weekend. I'll have more on the full forecast coming up a little later on.
Taking a look at the coronavirus numbers today, Montana saw another jump in cases, reporting 665 new ones across the Treasure State. That brings the statewide total of COVID-19 cases in Montana to just over 22,000. Now, last night, 2 COVID-19 related deaths were reported, bringing the state total there to 252. Currently, there are just over 7,700 active cases here in the state, with 319 active hospitalizations. So far, just over 14,000 people have recovered from the virus statewide. And Cascade County and Great Falls officials held a joint press conference today to address the recent rise in COVID-19 cases and possible future restrictions. MTN's Matt Holzoffel was there.
I think we're considering all kinds of restrictions at this point. We are not looking at a shutdown like we had back in March, but we are looking for different ways to be able to keep this under control.
According to Cascade City County Health Officer Tricia Gardner, Cascade County has reported just over 1,300 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Despite that, restrictions on gatherings or bars and restaurants aren't coming just yet.
We have to look at all options to help curb the spread of this virus.
Great Falls Public Schools Superintendent Tom Moore reaffirmed the district's commitment to staying open for in-person learning.
In conjunction with advice from all of our healthcare folks, we're going to keep schools open as long as we can, as long as it is safe and manageable to do so.
For me, this terminology, exponential growth, was something I needed to look up again so that I understood what it meant.
Officials from several healthcare organizations in Great Falls emphasize the stress that hospitals are under and ask that asymptomatic patients stay home.
There's more people coming in than what are leaving. It is getting bigger and bigger, and it is putting a burden. We're working through it. We're being very conscious of our resources and working throughout the state. That is my biggest plea for everybody, that we're maintaining and we're doing our job, but we're getting stressed and we need some help. And that help is to stay home, wash your hands, wear your mask, and social distance whenever possible.
Again, that was Matt Holzoffel reporting. Dr. Raymond Geyer, an infectious disease expert from the Great Falls Clinic, said that the highest risk groups are people who are overweight or over the age of 70. And despite that, he says that he and his colleagues working in healthcare have seen some perfectly healthy people respond poorly to contracting COVID-19. And starting next week, another satellite election office will be open on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation. The new office is for voters in Pend Oreille County. It's at Hart Butte High School and will offer in-person registration, early voting, and voting on Election Day. The office will be open every Monday and Election Day from 9 to 5. Pend Oreille County is opening the office after being sued by several Native American rights groups. They claimed that voters on the Blackfeet Reservation didn't have adequate access to election services, violating the Voting Rights Act. Now, MTN and KTVH has partnered with ProPublica's Election Land. The Election Land initiative is a coalition of newsrooms around the U.S. investigating issues related to voting. Now, you can help us by telling us if you have experienced or witnessed any problems when you cast your ballot. Text the word VOTE to 81380 to sign up, or visit our website for more information. And you can also submit tips through WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and Twitter. Well, tonight the Townsend Bulldogs will take on the Manhattan Christian Tigers for the Class B Southern Division title. MTN's Sam Hoyle will get you set and ready ahead of game time.
As the Townsend Bulldogs get ready to host the Manhattan Christian Tigers for the Class B South Championship, they know they have to come in heated if they're going to stand a chance.
From watching the tape, we've seen how Manhattan has bullied every single opponent that they've been up against so far this year. And to set the tone in the game, our kids have to be ready to go and not back down. And that's the type of mentality we expect out of them, and that's what we plan on seeing.
Townsend currently sits at 5-1 with their only loss coming against the Big Fork Vikings in their first week of the season. The Tigers at 6-0, and across their last 5 games, they've only given up 13 points while scoring nearly 250. And the Bulldogs fully expect the Tigers to come in with that same mentality into Week 7, but they're fully excited for the opportunity to take on the challenge.
I think we're all pretty nervous, but we're all also super pumped, and we all want to get out there and just beat them. If they're going to try and come out and punch us in the face because they think that they're a better team than us, and we have to not take that attitude and just show them who we are.
The Bulldogs and the Tigers will square off for the Southern B tonight at 7 p.m. at Fendrick Field. Reporting in Townsend, Sam Hoyle, MTN Sports.
That game and the rest of the games, we'll have highlights from that game and the rest of the games around the Treasure State back here tonight at 10 and on montanasports.com. But first, when we come back, Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz will have a complete check of your forecast and storm tracker weather. And we will break down a ballot measure that could limit local government's ability to regulate concealed weapons. That's coming up next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Grevenitz.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Some raindrops on the camera here in Geyser, looking out towards the high woods. You can see a little in the way of the view, obstructed by some raindrops and rain falling there. It's rain for most of the state right now. 57 degrees in Great Falls, southwest winds gusting to 35 miles per hour. Pretty windy out for a lot of the state. Helen, it took a while, but that wind has come down into the valley now. Gusts up to about 30 miles per hour in the last hour or so. 50 mile per hour wind gusts up on top of McDonald Pass. A little cooler northeast Montana, most everywhere though in the 50s, even a few 60s. We have Bozeman at 63. The cold front is right up here, just pushing through the Lethbridge area right now, and it's making a beeline towards the south. Sustained winds, 40 mile per hour sustained winds right now in Cut Bank. That wind is howling. Some gusts have been topping 60 miles per hour right along the Rocky Mountain front. The good news is this wind won't be as prolonged, won't be as bad as the wind that we've been dealing with over the last several days. Look at this, by tomorrow morning, a lot of the state dealing with much lighter winds. Nonetheless, still under a high wind warning from the Judith Gap area through Lewistown, Judith Basin County through Cascade County and up along the Rocky Mountain front, out parts of the High Line here for the rest of this evening into the overnight hours. Now, a winter weather advisory from the Glacier area down the Continental Divide, down into the Bozeman area as well. Now, this winter weather advisory goes into tomorrow. However, the snow will go all the way through Sunday night into Monday. That's why I'm saying by Sunday afternoon, evening, that is what you can expect. About 2 to 6 inches, maybe as much as 8 around the Lewistown area. Along the Rocky Mountain front, up to 10. And in the mountains, on the Rocky Mountain front, down the Continental Divide, the big belts, the little belts, as much as 16 inches of snow. Again, that is by Sunday. This is a prolonged snowy event here. The fires technically still active, but great to see some moisture on these fires. I think by next weekend you could pretty much stick a fork in fire season here. Some rain moving through north central Montana, a little snow northeast of Glasgow, but all of this precipitation will be changing over to snow as we get into later this evening. There's the front by about 10 o'clock pushing through Great Falls. Some showers, maybe a few thunderstorms out ahead of the front, but by about midnight, snowing in Great Falls, snowing in Helena, snowing in Lewistown, and that snow will continue around Lewistown, Great Falls, Cut Bank, and Helena into Saturday. Not much up there around Havre out through Glasgow. Bozeman, Livingston, Billings picking up the snow. It looks like it diminishes a little bit here towards Saturday evening, but then the next round of snow starts to increase here by Sunday morning, and we've got widespread snow again. Same locations, Lewistown, Great Falls, Cut Bank, Helena, down through Bozeman, Livingston, and Billings throughout Sunday as well. So by tomorrow morning, an inch or two around Lewistown and Great Falls, around the Helena area as well, maybe an inch or two, but the snow continues, especially closer to the Continental Divide. Down there around the Beartooth Mountains, picking up very heavy snow, and here we are by Sunday afternoon, where you see that white, at least 3 inches of snow, where you see that pink, at least 6 inches of snow. Numerically here, not much in Havre. Cut Bank up to 4, Helena in the valley up to 6, in the hills around town, double those numbers. Great Falls 3 to 6, Lewistown could see up to 8 inches. Now it's warm out there right now, we're in the 50s and 60s. Look at these lows through the overnight, down into the teens and the 20s. Whatever is wet will freeze, and the precipitation will change from rain to snow. Here's the forecast for tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, there you can see that snow. Now, the snow coverage kind of shrinks a little bit into southwest Montana later in the day, but again, we're looking at the snow increasing across that same area here on Sunday. So a pretty snowy weekend, and a prolonged snow event will allow those snow totals to get up to half a foot potentially in the lower elevations. So snow Saturday and Sunday in Helena, going over to a little rain by Monday, and then we're back from rain to snow Wednesday into Thursday. Temperatures kind of all over the place, so precipitation going back and forth. It's a snowy weekend. Great Falls here. A little break Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning, a mix of rain and snow Monday, and then more rain going to snow Wednesday into Thursday.
Well, Montana voters will be considering 5 ballot measures in the upcoming election. And one that's not receiving much attention would limit local government's ability to regulate concealed weapons. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian takes a closer look at Legislative Referendum 130.
During the 2019 legislative session, Montana lawmakers voted to put a referendum before voters, asking them whether they wanted to strip cities and towns of the power to regulate the carrying of concealed weapons. LR 130 would remove an exception in state law that specifically gives local governments the authority to regulate concealed carry. It would also take away their power to restrict unconcealed firearms except in publicly owned and occupied buildings, and their authority to take action to prevent groups like felons and those with mental illnesses from possessing guns. State Representative Matt Regier, a Republican from Columbia Falls, sponsored the proposal. He says it came about after Missoula approved a city ordinance requiring background checks on all gun sales or transfers. That ordinance was eventually overturned by the Montana Supreme Court. Regier says he wants to avoid a patchwork of different regulations across Montana.
Concealed weapon permit holders, such as myself, we want to follow the law. That's why we get permits. So having city ordinances all across the state, you travel from east to west, and there's 20 different ordinances you've got to know about, like that's making it impossible to even follow the law. So let's keep it uniform underneath state and federal laws.
Tim Burton, executive director of the Montana League of Cities and Towns, says he hasn't seen evidence that the current local ordinances are putting undue burdens on gun owners. He says he doesn't believe the current system should be changed.
So for over 130 years, we've been able to protect Second Amendment rights, including the right to protect ourselves, with the ability to have some local say in terms of how that's done.
Regier says he doesn't believe gun policy should be handled at the local level. He says enough protections exist in state and federal law to keep guns out of prohibited places and away from felons and those with mental illnesses.
I'm a local control guy, but I'm not for local control when it's infringing upon our rights.
Burton says he believes LR 130 would create too many questions and take away from the predictability of existing rules.
It will be confusing. It's going to cause a lot of litigation. And really, again, it takes away any community-wide discussions or decisions.
LR 130 is almost identical to another bill Regier proposed during the 2019 session. That bill passed both the House and Senate, but was vetoed by Governor Steve Bullock. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
The other measures on this year's ballot include I-190 and CI-118, which are part of a marijuana legalization effort. The remaining two, C-46 and C-47, are technical changes to the Montana Constitution to remove language that has been invalidated by the courts. And next on the news at 5, how campaigns are trying to make sure college students get out and vote.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 5.
Welcome back, everybody. With 18 days to go until Election Day, the final push is on to get voters to the polls and informed about their voting choices this year. That includes college students, many of whom will be participating in their first election. But there is a problem. College campuses at many schools are empty with very few in-person events allowed. Our Joe St. George is taking a look at how campaigns are adjusting to make sure students get out and vote.
There's not much activity outside the Student Activities building on the campus of the University of Michigan.
It's a little bit empty, but I think everyone's adjusting as best as they can.
Sophia Perez tells us this cement pillar in normal times would be filled with flyers advertising on campus events.
Probably stacked on top of each other.
But there's a problem with this lack of activity, whether you're on the University of Michigan's campus or whether you're here at Arizona State. A lack of in-person events means a lack of in-person political events during an election year.
We could either be setting up a table kind of right here as students walk by. This is obviously a busy place.
At Arizona State, Vice President of the College Republicans, Clay Robinson, tells us what has hurt his organization the most is a ban on setting up recruiting tables in areas just like this. That's how they get contact info, and without contact info, membership goes down.
We would be having in-person events, we'd be offering free food. This semester's obviously presented a challenge.
College Democrats feeling the same way.
I don't come on campus at all.
ASU Young Democrats President Cameron Adams says her recruitment has been impacted too, and that's potentially significant for Democrats since college students tend to vote more progressive. She says usually Democrats nationwide would rely on her group to knock on doors.
We're known as like the powerhouse, I guess, of knocking on doors, but so it's really different not to be doing that.
But this doesn't mean young people aren't trying.
Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
Social media by both parties has been utilized heavily.
We've been having debate watch parties,
including emerging apps. Zoom has proved to be the best way to meet new members.
I've actually been surprised how many people we've been able to kind of like consistently keep coming to meetings.
Like every year, it remains unclear how the college vote will actually impact the election. But we do know college has been impacted. No get out the vote parties, no free pizza.
I miss it so much.
In Tempe, Arizona, I'm Joe St. George.
We'll be back here to finish things up after this.
Montana's news leader. You're watching MTN News at 5.
Welcome back, everybody. Just in time for the holidays, film buffs have the chance to own the stars of one of the most iconic seasonal TV specials of all time. Two of the figures used for the animated 1964 stop-motion Christmas classic, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, are going on the auction block. The 11-inch tall Santa and 6-inch tall Rudolph were created by Japanese puppet maker Ichiro Komuro more than 55 years ago. And according to The Hollywood Reporter, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is, of course, one of the most beloved holiday films and the longest-running TV special. These one-of-a-kind stop-motion animation figures are expected to fetch as much as $250,000 at auction. So start saving your pennies now. Thanks for watching. Catch us back here at 6 and 10, and have a great night.